Empty Epsilon scenario writing, weather forecast. Okay, in this video, we're going to add some more weather to our scenario, specifically moving nebula. Now, I copy-pasted the options at the beginning. They are essentially all weather, just nebula, just asteroids, or no weather. And here they are as we're selecting them and processing them. You see for each one there's a pair of Booleans. We're going to use that information to create and set our two new variables, asteroid weather and nebula weather. Now that we have those, we're going to update the functions that handle weather. Specifically, I've already written a makeWeatherNebula function, and I'm just going to copy and paste that. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare that with the rest of the code, in particular makeWeatherNebula versus the makeWeatherAsteroid. Well, the first thing you'll notice is that makeWeatherAsteroid has a parameter makeWeatherNebula does not. And we have this code in here on the asteroid side that said if you do an origin, then you send the asteroid back to the origin, otherwise you randomize them across the play area. We're just going to randomize them across the play area. For both of them, we have speed, and then we return the thing that we created, nebula in one case, asteroid in the other. Otherwise, they're fairly similar. So let's look at the maintain weather function. The first thing we want to do is we want to check our new Booleans. If either one of them are true, then we're going to continue processing. If not, then we don't do anything in this function. If they said there's no weather, then we don't have to do any processing. So that's what this if block is doing. We put the if block there, we'll go select the existing code, adjust the indentation, and close the then parameter with an end. Now, we're going to move this line above the moving asteroid so that it's with the weather angle, because the moving asteroids and the for loop go together, and we want to group those together because we're going to put an if block around them. Specifically, we're going to say if the asteroid weather Boolean is true, then we'll do the initialization and the building of the asteroid list. We're going to create a similar if block saying if the nebula weather Boolean is true, then we are going to initialize the moving nebula table, and we're going to have a for loop where we will create a bunch of nebula out there. Instead of 100 though, we'll just have 20 nebula. So it's very similar. Table insert, moving nebula, makeWeatherNebula, which we went over before. You notice there's no parameter because we don't have but one option. All right, so maintaining the list. The first thing we're going to do is put a Boolean around the existing code for asteroids, as in if asteroid weather is true, then we'll do what we've already coded before. Then we'll add another if block that says if the nebula weather is true, then we're going to process the nebula. It's going to be very similar to the asteroids in that we're going to go through a loop and process each nebula. But in this case, we're not going to be checking for validity for the nebula. All we're going to do is check for distance from origin. So we look for the distance between the current location and the origin. If it's greater than 200,000, then it's time to set it back to the origin. If it's not, then we do the move similar to what we did before, a vector from angle based off the speed and the weather angle. We add that to the position, and you can see in the asteroid weather we have code for invalid. We're not doing that because we're not checking that for nebula. We don't need to update because we're already calling maintain weather. So let's test and see what happens. We get ourselves a ship. And by the way, we took the defaults, which is all weather all the time. We'll have asteroids and nebula. Boom. There we have the asteroids running across and the nebulas running across. All right, let's try another test. This time we will choose the asteroids option. So our weather should be just asteroids. So give me a ship. Let's go to the game master, unpause, and watch. Yes, so there we have just the asteroids flying across the play area. Let's run it again. This time we'll have only nebula running across the play area. Well, at least that's what we're selecting. Hopefully it'll come out that way. And the verdict is yes. Now you notice the nebula are moving in a different direction. It's because the direction is randomized each time you come into the scenario. All right, our last permutation is no weather. So let's see if that works. We say none. We start the scenario. We get a ship. We go to the game master. We unpause. No weather. So there you have it, a weather forecast.